Bonjour à tous. Hello everyone. Today in our country, Canada, we heard in Alberta some people or some organization they burned and made a fire in a holy places. The prelude of this action is not good for whole and all, and we have to stop because burning the substance is loss of the energy, which is important, is a raise of the culture, especially in a modern country. Here is not a developing country. Je conseille à mon fils d'apprendre les sciences. Ne demande pas à tes clients sur la religion, la politique et la trafic illégal. I advise to my son, learn science and never ask to your client on a religion, politique or illegal work. Sauf si vous faites partie de la politique, du jury et de la philosophie, unless you are active and part of the politics, judiciary, or in philosophy. Nous condamnons tout acte de violence contre des personnes mal conduites en masse dans le monde et brûler les biens nationaux et tuer les peuples. So we condemn this act of the violence contre les personnes for people and for bad people and conduct in this action in the world for burning the national or killing the people. Max Weber, dans le triangle Darwin, Marx et nécessité, guerre entre masse et les troupeaux qui ne savent pas pourquoi, pas où combattre, mais ils savent pourquoi. Max Weber, by triangle of Darwin, Marx, and Nietzsche said, the war is between herd and the mass who doesn't know what they fighting for whom, who knows but they are not fighting, which is related to the oligarch or might be some new terminology Freemason. Comme nous, en décembre, et Sisyphus pense à l'hiver, nous pensons à homme de cosmologie dans l'air pour la protection du sol. We are all together on December, and Sisyphus think to winter. We think to a man of cosmology in the air for protection of the soil. Avant janvier, nous sommes prêts pour votre naissance et votre mort comme une vie magnifique et merveilleuse. Before January, we are ready for birth and for death, which is one for a brilliant, magnificent, and marvelous of one person. Monsieur Galileo, où êtes-vous? Sir Galileo, where are you? Observez une nouvelle croisade ou la guerre des hôtels entre votre partisan elatic en cosmologie et les monothéismes terrestres. Observe new crusade or new star war for partisan of elatic in cosmology and monotheist of Earthy. Mais je suis content avec le autochtone canadien Carboami, avec votre appareil télescope et moi par pasteur et court au microscope. But I am happy with Aboriginal Canadian and these friends and our friends by their telescope, by your telescope, et moi par pasteur and I with pastor and Koch in microscope or microscope, tandis que Hobbes et Descartes de décembre à février sont notre et vous, while Hobbes and Descartes in December to February are our confession. Before continuing the logicism section 2 and what the prosteriori thinks on a historical logical investigation and what's our idea, I said between research I met the new topics, new notion which is related to the contention and argument between pre-elatic and elatic, between pluralism and reductionist like Anaxagoras. So based on this, I just stop the logicism for now, and I want to little bit talk between what's happened and what is the discussion between these two groups, pre-elatic and elatic, and by this, in enlightenment of Hesiod in 750 to 650 BC, which is the formation Buddhist and Zoroastrian, comes from that Genesis, and Zeus, the king of gods or goddess, as a pre-elatic or predecessors like Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Milesians, Thales, and Anaximander. Pupil in a school on geometry learn Thales' theorem that states if A, B, C are distinct points on a circle where the line AC is a diameter, the angle ABC is a right angle, which is 90 degrees. On Pythagorean, in right triangle, C2 exponent 2 equal A2 exponent 2 plus B2 exponent 2, or C equal square root of A2 exponent 2 plus B2 exponent 2. Whereas in elatic, like Milesius, Zeno, Anaxagoras, or Parmenides, are monoist on a unity of substance. Now, on this topic, we want to say what is the stand of prosteriori between these two groups, and we get inside of the table of period in 21st century on a Mendeleev, which was based on the mass of the atom, and now is based on a number of the electron and protons in each columns of the atomic groups, and to explain that both group is right, because nowadays we have a new element. 20 years ago we had 104 elements, and right now we are 118 elements is discovered. So there is a possible we will find the new elements in a cosmology in a space by new technology of the new telescope, and or make a artificial in a laboratory new elements. So there is an infinity between elements and between the reactant to make a reaction and make a new substance. So this is a pluralism, but the essence of the each element is electron, proton, neutron, and positron. So all is like a hydrogen, one electron and one proton. So we see there is a unity and limitation. Or in biology we discuss all DNA is in mitosis and meiosis. They make a combination zygote, but all is a one DNA, and one unity, and what we see each other is nothing, merely differentiation. So is unity. That is this summary of abstract, concrete, and now a start of explanation of this. Why all related to goddess in cosmology, but thing to mortality has an impulsion, an impetus to ride on a heaven and hell, and none of those not providing any signified language on a spirit, soul, and ghost, as I did on a prosteriori, while Hegel and Nietzsche provide them. And Hegel has a one book's phenomenology of a spirit, but that spirit is not, Hegel was sort of atheism, but he used as a signify in the language. And now George asked the philosophy why you are biased, why you are bigot, why you don't want to talk about the monotheism and in a Mesopotamia. And we see the judge, we are reading the context. All is a history of between people, and after culminated to the God, which is not the material. But in cosmology, as a goddess, they relating to the sun, moon, a star, which is part of the element. In Mesopotamia, as a monotheism patriarch, like later on in Taoism 6th century before Christianity, or Taoism 5th century before Christianity. But Adam and Eve related to 10,000 or 6,000 years ago, or other way 100th century or 60th century years ago. And not bad to reminder that Hinduism is related to 70,000 or 700 century years ago, which they are migrated from Africa first in a origin of the history of India, and they reach each other based on a volcano and the earthquake or flood or something happened, and by the craft they came to the west side of the India, which is now they called Kerala, and after they expanded inside of the India, and they learn whole the mythology of Hinduism based on an African tribe. Noah, 10th century after Adam, 5,000 years ago. Abraham, 4,000 or 40th century or 20th century BCE, before Christianity, while Moses, 30th century or 3,000 years ago, and Jesus, Messiah, 20th century or 2,000 years ago, and Muhammad in 570 CE after Christianity, or 15,000 years ago. And based on a relativity of Einstein in time, was in other planet is now, or in other planet was is future. So if you talk to the Brahman in India who reads Veda or Krishna, they said Adam, they said for us 1 century years ago. If you said about the Muhammad and Islam, they said for us is yesterday, it's not history, it's relativity between time. Okay, so now we continue this. Monotheism says human from soil, and we return to the soil, while in cosmology we don't have like that. They said after this immortality we go to the cosmology, to a star, to moon, to sun, to a star, while in soil science we deal with on clay, sand, and silt based on a mother rock of region and mainly are silicate quartz in a mica and feldspar and soil with near zero organic matter will not burn at all, even in 1000 Celsius degree. The soil, if burned, merely organic and water disappear but not minerals, as a lava does. Lava minerals mainly basaltic, magma by 45-55% silica, SiO2 by weight, and aluminium, iron, magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, and titanium. Excuse me. Noah, no, by deluge, in the inundation, and Abraham, we know Abraham for mirage in the desert to find the water, and Moses by 5 books of Torah, Nevi'im and Keturim, and partly gospel in the Talmud, and Jesus by Messiah and resurrection, divinity and scripture. Now, Empedocles and Democritus both are natural philosophers, as our world is physical one and real. The oratorical philosophers like Kant, Nietzsche, and Hobbes on alienation of the knowing subject from its object, an epistemological problem raised by metaphysical, logical, ontological distinction which needs to be worked. But before a past elatic reductionist, let me, uh, but before a past elatic reductionist, I want to talk on a Xenophon. So right now I want to stop because right now time is time of the war and battle in the world. Who and Xenophon is one of the partly politician who had a really connection to the philosophy, and he was lived in a Socrates time. And this is very important, this is very interesting. Xenophon contended, like Plato, on Socrates, whereas accepting martyr for his reason had been an error. Intriguingly, 1 century prior to Alexander, in court of the Cyprus in Persia as a leadership of military in Sparta. So there is a politics, there is a life. So one times they are friends and they had a good connection between mythology of the Greek and Zarathustra together. And 1 century later, Alexander is attacked to Persia until India. And same in Second World War, the Stalin and Hitler was friend and suddenly enemy. When cited, Xenophon, when cited, most key elements of any policy revolve around leadership skills of those in charge alongside their self-control and devotion to the good of the whole. End of the quote. Xenophon, as a certain utilitarianism and certain egalitarianism, and unfortunate in his epic as a no feminism. He cited again, training should not be harsh because nothing forced can ever be beautiful. Respect to horse as it perceives our behavior. Thus, we must follow the indication of the aids to display of his own free will all the most beautiful and brilliant qualities. Exactly, Taoism and Taoism, they have such a this philosophy in China, 500 before Christianity, respect to your pet, an animal. Xenophon, his citation, the importance of self-control, moderation, restraint of appetite, and balance, when has a quotation from Cyrus of Persia, when Cyrus said, I never sat down to dinner when in sound health without first working hard at some task of war or agriculture or exerting myself somehow. The Greek replies, I think you deserve your happiness, Cyrus, for you earn it by your virtue. Do you ever react to the other people's rudeness? Cyrus said, adjust your attitude. It is not always about you. Love between brothers is more natural than discord. In my life, I had a restraint for 18 years in Canada, and they said, oh, he's stoic, he's Epictetus, he's Marcellus. No, I was not. I respect to the freedom of citizenship, but I have to respect the rule of the law when justice said is not the time to discuss on your document. To be by good people, to be by judiciary, to be by philosophy, and that is your destiny. To be by good people. What Xenophon admires most about Agesilaus Tau is the key. His character shines through in his leadership when said, he took care to render his men capable of meeting all calls on their endurance. He filled their hearts with confidence that they were able to withstand any and every enemy. He inspired them all with an eager determination to outdo one another in a valor. And lastly, he filled all with anticipation that many good things would befall them if only they proved good men, for he believed that men so prepared fight with all their might, nor in point of fact did he deceive himself. Thus, Xenophon's philosophical projects were infused with a commitment to practical usefulness, just as his practical treatises convey a philosophy that is still of interest today, with its emphasis on engagement in the world or knowing who we are and how we can help. Recall Socrates' translation of the Delphi oracle's inscription when Socrates cited, consider what sort of creature he is for human use and get to know his own powers. In Tribunal Supreme Court of Canada, in Dictionary of Law, provides on belief, common sense, priori, covenant, bias, unanimous. I tried to see what's going on in the Supreme Court of Canada after my movement from Quebec. At that time, I had a TV channel, and when I came to the Saguenay, I said I want to see what's going on, and I checked the CPAC, and I don't know, based on a cybernetic technology or control between all programs of the two programs came first, and I tried the first one. It was very beautiful and but related to my history. It was on a Trinity Western appeal. A second one, again related to the Albertan sexual assault, I watched and was interesting. So I observed two videos of CPAC, which is so vital for modernization, social justice explicitly, and economical justice implicitly. One was related to the topic Trinity Western Appeal in epoch of Chief Justice Honorable Beverly McLachlan. Nothing more important than logical, modernizing educational system in transcendental bias and bigot. Justice need to inquiry by philosophy. The point, my dream is the Prime Minister Jean Chrétien or Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, the life is we are coming and we are going. Birth, marriage, death, what? And might be any people earlier or later. But the point is here, we if we have to do this by you before you left the life, and that is the unity of educational system and make a one public school without any discrimination and bias and bigot, and make a hegemony and elimination and deletion of the hierarchy. And that topic was related to the Trinity Western appeal, was related to the disdifferentiation and difference between the school. And the one letter 2013 or 14 I wrote to the Premier Wayne in Ontario. I said, your sexual curriculum is very logic and reasonable, and students have to know in the right age what's going on. But the desire and utopia is respect to CRA and tax return. Whoever is a low income and has a good GPA, they have to pay off this discount on their tuition when they go to the college and university. And public school have to be free and union as a compulsory and mandate. No private school. If you are rich, the free market of the tutor have to be open in the market, free market. Whoever they want to have a private teacher, but public school, same. And next part was proportionally partly tuition. The second part of the justice in the program of CPAC, which I observed, was related to this topic, sexual intercourse harassment dismissed by the Supreme Court of the Alberta. The time it was May 2023 this year, and I watched whole trial, which I was curious as a student. If we want to have a modern judiciary, if we want to have a justice together between Canada and Korea and the Japan and other country, this topic, which is the intercourse of sexual assault of the man by finger or sexual organs to the body of the woman by a man, this is a scientific topic, like criminal. It's a forensic. We have to have a private laboratory in a Supreme Court to make a medicine, and the private doctor, they have to check by the biology. All is possible. What gauge, what calibrate, plus finger, or sexual organ is a bigger diameter as usual, or in a gun, murdering and crime, the bullet, kind of the bullet, that is all is scientific. But private lab, because very uh, honestly, if you want to say to the laboratory of the police of Toronto or police of New York, is better is a better closing, because we cannot trust. The judiciary they have their own laboratory, scientific and forensic. But the whole of the trial, which was is related to this, nothing on scientific point, what the medicine and doctor exam they said. The whole was verbal, specific uh, conversation between lawyers, applicant, and defendant. But just in a final, the Chief Justice Wagner said, because you said as a lawyer defendant the air is not good, so based on our judgment, this air we can dismiss your appeal and right by the Alberta court. The point was here, at least he used the vocabulary air, because air has a 70-90% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, and our air is the same in Alberta and Ottawa. So now by this pause we continue to the pluralism and the elatic time. Parmenides born, so the title is here, monoist, a preliminary for deductionist. Parmenides born in elatic time, 500 BC, as a pre-Socrates and father of ontology. His way of truth was between appearance and opinion by his goddess on the nature of reality after Iliad and Odyssey of Homer, or enlightenment of the Hesiod in 750 to 650 BC from Buddhism and Zoroastrian. This is all is in Macedonia, in the upper land, and the lower land in Mesopotamia. They have a belief to not monoist, to monotheistic, to the God, Adam, Eve, and all the history of their prophets. Parmenides, a monoism beyond of goddess or God in being by unity of nature and its vanity, and now we deal with on quantum energy, on a H hydrogen and He helium in cosmology, or in prosteriori on biological contribution bond on a C carbon, H hydrogen and oxygen, or in lipid front lobe on a bridge spectrum, yes and no, between pluralism and monoism, as all atoms are in same essence of simple one, like hydrogen, just number of electron and proton makes a different element, like N nitrogen, P phosphorus, K potassium, Na sodium, Cl chloride or chlorine, Mg magnesium, Mn manganese, Co cobalt, Zn zinc, Fe iron, and so on and so forth. At 21st century, we imply on a nuclear engineering and cellular and molecular engineering, separate from theology in common sense. And his student Zenon, Zenon, a student of the Parmenides, his student Zenon, who reject the existence of space and time and motion for bonds and diversity for pluralism as a paradox for infinity and divisibility of mass, thus no mass, just one, while prosteriori thinks on ash of cremation or Canadian forest ash and lava as all same, as Milesius, Zeno, and Parmenides said that all reality is a one single indivisible object, a single indivisible object which is atom, and now to think on a moral judgment Kant and existential humanism of Sartre. The reality of immigration as ash from Persia to work food delivery for Mr. Greek restaurant to be exist as a fire to prove orthodox is what is reality of Persian in Aboriginal land Canada on a bridge spectrum between reductionism and pluralism in front of pre-elatic or predecessors like Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Milesians, Thales, and Anaximander. Hamish, the unshaken heart of well-rounded reality. Heaven, hell, sun, moon, and stars, genuine morals, whereas there is no genuine trustworthiness. Inquiry for reality follow. Goddess to think on what is, for it is to be, but nothing it is not. These things I bid you ponder, then yet again from that along which mortals who know nothing wander headed to reality, while cosmology and goddess want not to be identified as a fragment. This I want to make a one note. The being and for pre-Elatic and Eleatic, 6th century to 4th century before Christianity, all the substance and matter is a being, and not being is related to the after mortal and death, which is related to the sun and a star. What the Plato said on a being is totally different. Plato being and Heidegger had a complementary on this being is related to the insight or consciousness, while this terminology is for pre-Eleatic and Eleatic. Whatever is matter and substance is being, and what is related to the cosmology is not being. By this introductory, we continue this part. Striving to goddess as an attribute to cosmology, moon, sun as a goddess and not fragment, the same mixture of being and non-being likewise features in the goddess. When Parmenides said that things that are not are, but you from this way of inquiry restrain your understanding to employ aimless sight and echoing hearing and tongue but judge by reason, the strife feel critic. End of the quote. On account of this, neither to be born nor to die has a justice allowed it to lose its bond, whereas prosteriori objection sustain as a sustainable energy. Energy never disappear but change from one state to another, and this is a genuine ontology in prosteriori. Thus, what is uninterrupted existence is energy. Parmenides cited, the goddess presents a much briefer argument for what is being whole and uniform, nor is it divided, whereas prosteriori scenes speak on a mythos and meiosis, an undivided zygote, since it is all alike and it is not anymore just merely differentiation, but it is all replete with what is. Therefore it is all continuous, for what is draws to what is. Goddess, what it must be perfect, while we have relativity in science. So while for Parmenides, Goddess neither is there non-being which would stop it reaching to its like, nor is what is such that it might be more than what is, since it is all inviolate, for it is equal to itself from every side. It extends uniformly in limit. End of the quote. Milesian, from monoism to pluralism, physical theory like Empedocles and Anaxagoras, and early atomism like Leucippus and Democritus. Parmenides' deduction is, when said, the reality and must be a unity in the strictest sense, and that any change in it impossible. Or said, the world as perceived by the senses is unreal. Man in illusion to perceive the world as many change and different, but all is one. So sensory limitation makes false reason as a preferred one. Relativity Einstein on time was, is, will be, is attributing to its origin or a dissolution in time. Milesians suppose that the world had not always existed in its present cosmic state. They derived it from one substance which they asserted to have changed or moved in various ways, becoming hotter, colder, drier, wetter, rarer, or denser in order to produce the present world order. Excuse me. Anaximander's idea that opposites are initially latent within the originating principle that he called the boundless, appearing prior to being separated out from it. Thus, things are generated and has a plurality, while Parmenides said if boundless was a appearing or prior to being out, so not exist, then all items or substance is not from one unity and deny motion and change. So no things are generated change and motion by plurality, as our limited senses cannot perceive. Thus, trust to reason to priori, not senses. And now, the R side as a prosteriori in 21st century, yes or no, to Anaximander or or Parmenides is right or no. The pluralism scientists like Thales, Pythagorean, or Anaximander, they are right. The answer is in prosteriori, both of them they are right. Boundless before creature in a zygote and make a mitosis, and after make a sexual cells as a X and Y meiosis, and after this combination as a one unity and one DNA, and rest is duplication of mitosis for differentiation in a biology sense. In sense of the biology, in sense of the chemistry, and now we stop the physics and philosophy. While prosteriori has a pluralism covenant with monoistic and all senses from physics have changed to electromagnet cosmology as a real reason as deployed in the intricate multi-stage deduction of fragment reveals what is attributes whatever is mass poses. Thus, principle of sustainable energy is subject to whole argument as objection. Whatever is must be ungenerated and imperishable, one continuous and indivisible, motionless and unchanging, ungenerated, thus no past, current, and future. All is our attribute and relativity. And this is a conclusion. This is all that can be said about what truly exists. This is all that can be said about what truly exists. So this is the end of the part one of this uh, uh, comparison and comparable between the pre-elatic and elatic, and we continue for the next session and this discussion, and we go to the thermodynamic and biochemistry. Thank you very much.